Oh, hey, welcome back. This is Cinematic Post-Mortem 4, Traveling with Coffee. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about Traveling with Coffee. That was an interesting chapter in my filmmaking. Let's see, I was working at the film school, and from there I ended up getting this job at a place called Adolf Gasser Photography. And that photography store had a deep history behind it in San Francisco. It was the place that everybody rented their equipment from to come and make movies. They used to have 6 or 7 buildings around. At this point, it was just downtown San Francisco, and I got this job there, so I left the film school. And there I learned how to develop, hand process 35 millimeter film. I learned how to fix certain functions of cameras. I was a salesman. I worked in the rental department. But unfortunately, at this point in that journey, Adolf Gasser's was closing. Now, I was there for a while before they decided to close their doors. But I was there when they decided to close. And at that time, Aidan, who's the lead of Traveling with Coffee, was my roommate and my best friend in San Francisco. And he had said to me that he always wanted to act. So I was like, let's do this, let's build a movie. Let's put something together. And I went to contemplate what that would be. So I'm at work walking around with a box and a cup of coffee, and both, box holding it and having a cup of coffee. And my boss at the time, he said to me, hey, you're going to spill that. And I said, don't worry, relax. I'm just traveling with coffee. And instantly I saw this whole tale of this young man going through this abortion with his significant other, and deciding he can't face it and trying to run away. And then he goes on this crazy, almost Alice in Wonderland type journey where he's traveling and trying to distract himself. But inevitably, these issues continue to arise. And but a big part of this film was to bring together all the things I loved in San Francisco at the time. So where I lived, everybody, the young lady with the baby in the movie, she was a neighbor, a really great neighbor of mine where I was living. And so I tried to bring all these different people together. For instance, there's this great cameo from a guy named Jack Van Alstyne, who is this remarkable photographer in San Francisco in The Hate. And he is the place where coffee takes our lead character, Keanu, to go try to steal this man's money. And Jackie got a real kick out of that particular shoot that night. He agreed to let us come in, but once we were doing 6 to 8 takes of different scenes and different things, he was like, wow, how long is this going to take? But because the camera work is quite precise throughout Traveling with Coffee. One of the things I was really proud of with that movie coming out of it is every scene is specific to the emotional stability. For instance, that opening sequence where they're going through the trauma, that particular scene is juxtaposed with a shaky, still camera. So this camera that almost is on a tripod, but it's handheld, but keeping its composition. So it felt like the shakiness and the emotional feelings of that moment, where once he's out and about on his own, the camera starts to drift with him and more steady cam. And once we go into these hyper up close slow motion moments, those are, look at this tyrant. She wants to go on top of the refrigerator. Here, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. What's up there? Go ahead. That's Phoebe, one of my two cats. Let's see, is that still in the shot? Yeah. It's fine. So let's see. So every single particular sequence is trying to bring you into his stability. But going back to Adolf Gasser photography, so because they were going through this transition and my boss knew, really quickly, this Muni sequence, this bus sequence, I'm so proud of, because we just stole this whole situation. I'm holding the camera down with my legs on the tripod, and obviously we shoot 2 different times of day and night, but this shot right here I'm super proud of, because I'm not calling out any kind of direction. The actress, she knows around about when I'm going to be pointing her direction, and then I'm able to come back up, and it has this kind of feeling of being alive. And also the production value is a little bit larger there, feeling, because of being on this Muni, and the camera feeling so locked down, or really I'm just holding the tripod with my legs and my feet and praying that the driver's not going to be like, what the hell are you guys doing back there? But it worked out. But so how this film came together, though, is I was working at Adolf Gasser Photography. They decided to close their doors. My manager at the time found out that I wanted to make this short film with my friend, and so he allowed me to use all the rental gear for free that coming up weekend. So literally there was about a 2-week period of working on the material and the script and rehearsing a little bit, because Aidan had never acted before. Here we're doing this crazy steady cam up those really steep San Francisco hills. But Aidan had never acted, and he just wanted to give it a shot. So once I had this opportunity to rent this gear, it was like, let's shoot this in 3 days over the weekend and see what we come up with. And so most of the people in the film hadn't really acted before, and it was just something we put together very spontaneously. But I think it turned out really good. During this sequence, when we're on top of the hill, they're being heckled by like 6 to 8 tourists who are sitting there drinking. In between takes, I kept trying to figure out how do we make this situation okay, but it seemed to work out okay. But yeah, this is on the Steadicam, so now we have these handheld shots, but they're not shaky like the opening. And these are one of these films that after we made the picture all together, I watched it with the people who made it about maybe 5 to 10 times. We all kind of watched it and had a great evening. And then I never really showed it to many more people. We didn't submit it to any festivals, nothing of that sort. I'm a giant believer in the fact that a huge proponent of any art form is crafting and creating. And if you're creating solely from the function of, I want to put this thing out and be known or seen as something specific, I think it's hard to find your voice, what you really are interested in. Because, a huge factor in being an artist or just making decisions, let's say, because in an art form, there's a factor of you have to come up with an opinion, some kind of taste to decide what you're going to put on your body or how you're going to make the thing or what kind of story you're going to tell, how are you going to shoot it. And so inevitably there's this side of life where you have to embrace the spontaneous idea of your own choices. So I think the only way to get to that point that you can embrace your gut instincts is to create for yourself and in the idea that maybe nobody will even ever see it. But it's hard to make stuff and it's hard to stay motivated and go forward. I think that's always a constant battle in life for anybody trying to do anything, really. But when I make things from the sole purpose of I want to do it for myself because I like the process of creating, things seem to turn out much better. You know, they seem to become more honest. Now, this is Jack Van Alstyne, great photographer. I had been shooting something, a documentary on him, and we're in the middle of putting that together, so that'll come out at some point. James Vane, a remarkable poet living up in the hate. Yeah, I love these shots. I believe I shot it with a 50 or 85 millimeter prime Canon lens because I shot the movie on a C100 Mark II. And I spent a lot of time in Jack's apartment during making this other documentary that we're in the process of finishing. It was a really awesome, unique experience to be able to shoot a sequence at his place because he had been living in the hate in this apartment since about the 70s. And to be able to, you know, his whole place, every angle of these walls are just packed, filled like a museum. So to be able to shoot something in such a lived-in space, it meant a lot to me. But also it meant a lot to me because Jack means a lot to me, and just to have him in there. Every film is like a diary entry. I might say this every time almost, but I feel like when you make something, there's a side of it that you're putting yourself in it no matter if you try to or not. It's just inevitable. You're making choices, you're making decisions, you're writing lines of dialogue, you're asking people to do things specific to what you need for the movie. But a huge part of making films is managing personalities. And inevitably, no matter what project you walk into, people will clash a little here and there, especially when you're trying to do something for 8 to 10 hours and it's just not working and people are hungry and we're running out of water. Because somehow, even if you buy 100 bottles of water, they all run out very quickly. This is all lit by one particular light. I think it's like a 1 or a 5K light, an RE, with a moonlight gel on it. And about a 24-foot stand. This film was made for like no money. So we're just running around and trying to figure out where we can shoot things. So there's this little wooded area in the middle of this neighborhood. And we literally like ran into the middle of this wooded area. And I brought out 1 billion stingers and we plugged them all together to get power from somebody's back porch. And it was just a random person that we saw outside, and we asked them if we could plug in for a minute, and they were like, sure. So that's how we got light for this particular moment. It's like 2 a.m, and we're in the middle of this woods. And honestly, it's incredibly cold. You can't see their breath, probably because it's the C100 Mark II. But not that camera isn't a great camera, but the sensor just isn't picking up as much information. It's interesting to relive these chapters because you get so embedded in the current time period you're living that you forget all these crazy experiences you have, all these new tips and tricks trying to make the next thing. Which in this case, I think perhaps we'll be rolling out Willa's Peach next, which I'm really excited about. And then after that, maybe everything will be fine. And then by Christmas, we'll be rolling out a film called Outcry. So stay tuned. I love that this whole movie, as a final cap here, final idea, final thought, I love how this whole movie is really about this guy trying to distract himself from problems. And in life, it's what we all try to do. Even when you don't want to distract yourself from problems and you want to be proactive and you want to be there, you still end up distracting yourself somehow and trying to ignore the thing that'll never go away. So I feel like I didn't mean for that story to be that fully, but like it definitely at that moment in time, I was distracting myself from a lot of problems I was facing. I usually use filmmaking and creating as a way to distract, which ends up turning into creating a lot of work. So, is it really a bad thing? And with this punch to his face, we will close this off. I really love how this movie turned out. You know, walking into this bookstore on the Haight, I literally just came in, talked to the manager of the store, and she just said, yeah, sure, come in here, film a scene. Totally free. No charge. In San Francisco. So if you want to make something, be proactive. Go talk to people. Because you really never know what they're going to say. All right. And until the next time.